The next speaker is the Honorable Juan Edghill. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would have hoped that by this hour, the people of Guyana would have known or had an assurance when the blackout would stop, when their supply of electricity will be more reliable, and what is the strategy to keep the cost affordable and in keeping with our own commitments and trends in a renewable manner. I'd like to thank all the members who spoke to this motion, more particularly the members of the opposition who lend their support to this motion, and also members of the government who lent their support, but I guess because of the political hat they're wearing, they can't support it, but they lend their support in their comments. Because some of the very arguments we made, they concurred. But Mr. Speaker, if there's a criticism that needs to be made of what I've listened to, and I've listened to all the speakers, is that my colleagues on the government side of this House should be harshly criticized by using arguments that were designed to obfuscate the real issue that this motion brought to the fore. If I'm to start, sir, by responding with the last speaker, who is the minister responsible for the electricity sector? The minister started out by saying he's not satisfied with the state of blackouts. GPL should do more. But as he went on, he took a posture that has become now almost the trademark of this administration, sir. They don't take kindly to criticism, even constructive criticism. They don't. A motion that is brought by a private member should allow for the discussion of ideas and should even sharpen government's policy to ensure better delivery of goods and services to the people of Guyana. But so rather what we had tonight is what I will want to call standpipish behavior. In the village, when there was no water supply in the houses, and everybody had to be at the one standpipe, who pushing their bucket away and who pushing their bucket away, and the water is wasting. Standpipish behavior. Mr. Speaker, why do I say this, sir? We are talking here in this motion about getting on board a long-term strategy for the electricity sector through a national consultative process without further delay. Mr. Speaker, we listened to the Honorable Mr. Dominic Gaskin, Treasurer, and my colleague Irfan Ali answered the whole issue about competitive bidding. And it would seem that the minister was at sea and a total loss as it relates to competitive bidding and a power purchase agreement. Two different things we were talking about. We then went on, sir, to hear, even though I spoke about the feasibility of the 1974-76 period, about the possibilities of hydroelectricity, the Honorable Member Katiyu spoke about the Tumachimari hydroelectricity program. Mr. Speaker, the Tumachimari hydroelectricity project was not going to be fed into the national grid. It was not going to change anything in the national grid. I visited that site with potential investors and with the Honorable Prime Minister, who was interested in resuscitating it, and what were the possibilities of power for the people in the populated areas of Region 8. This was not going to help the national grid. But, Mr. Speaker, it pains because the Honorable Member, Ms. Katiyu, went on to speak about Venezuela and its claim on the Essequibo, which eventually caused our inability to develop our hydroelectricity potential. But, Mr. Speaker, in 2013 and 2014 in this National Assembly, the enemy of energy development in Guyana was not Venezuela. It was the then opposition, the APNU, AFC, combined with a one-seat majority. With a one-seat majority. And Mr. Speaker, so don't let us blame Venezuela. It was the same two parties that formed the opposition then are still being the same one. They're the same ones who is seeking even now to cloud the issue about our future where electricity generation and supply is concerned. Mr. Speaker, if we're going to remedy the blackouts, the unreliability, and the high cost that the consumers are bearing today, we have to correct and ensure that there's adequate generation of electricity. There must be adequate, that's the first thing, adequate generation. While we were in government, sir, we developed capacity. And I need to respond to those who seem to have forgotten. Today, our peak demand is 114 megawatts. And in our supply capacity, which nothing has been added since the new government, it's 140 megawatts. So the peak is 140, and we have capacity for 140. And there is nothing that is added. We knew that with the growth that was taking place in our country, we needed to expand by 3.5 to 5 megawatts annually. And we were putting that in place. The cogeneration capacity at Skeldon at peak provide 20 megawatts. 20 megawatts. So that's the first thing that needs to be debunked. We improved capacity.
That's right.
We improve capacity. The second thing that is important, sir, is that we must be able to get the electricity. We must be able to get the electricity that is generated, transmitted to where the people require it, which means that our transmission network must be able to facilitate that. That is why we worked on our transmission lines, and to reduce losses and to ensure the supply was getting to the people, we put in the substations. So that is the second thing, sir. The third thing that is under consideration here is at what cost? At what cost? And it is because of the issue of cost and what was happening on the world market with the price per barrel for fossil fuel, that this great need for other sources of energy which is clean was sought after. This motion tonight, sir, simply asks the government to make known what are their long-term strategies, what are their plans, so that the people of Guyana can be assured that we are getting in a direction to have this dream realized. We have heard everything else but that. Everything else but that. Mr. Speaker, while I'm hearing the promptings on the issue of the boards, I think it has been publicly stated by the opposition and the leader of the opposition that whenever this government has brought an end to their witch hunting and they've brought an end to their blame casting and they're in a mood for national development, the People's Progressive Party Civic will sit at the table and work for that kind of a development. But if you need time to continue what you're doing, go ahead. Go ahead. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we have a situation here tonight Sir, should I continue or give the floor to somebody else?
Honourable members, the time is moving on. Let us allow the member to complete his statement. Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. Sir, so the issue that we have before us, will we, in a consensual manner, in a very objective environment, come together as a country and craft a plan that is agreeable by all stakeholders to ensure that this dream and this desire of all Guyanese of us having reliable, renewable, and affordable electricity is realized. I would want to say, sir, as I ask that the motion be put, that the members who would have indicated already their non-support of this motion is actually saying to the people of Guyana, because the simple clause that they'll be voting on is that the government unveils its long-term strategy for this sector through a national consultative process without further delay. And when we vote no, you're actually saying to the people of Guyana, that's not your business. That's what you're saying to the people of Guyana, that's not your business. And the people of Guyana are hearing, sir, because the truth about it, whether we are on this side or we are on that side, what should be really of interest to all of us is what is good for Guyana. And I close by saying what I said earlier. Any country that is interested in economic development must pay keen attention to its energy needs and its energy supply, because without that, we can't get the kind of economic development that is needed. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I ask that the question be put.
I thank the honourable member for his statement. I will now put the question. Those in favour, please say aye.
I stand, sir, to move that the motion be amended, sir, to include the final be it resolved clause. Sir, I stand to move that the motion be amended to include the final be it further resolved clause, that the government table the NORConsult report on the feasibility fact-based assessment of the Milo Falls hydropower project, the IDB-sponsored energy mix study, and all other studies relating to Guyana's wind, solar, hydro, ethanol, biofuels, and any other form of energy potentials within 2 weeks, and sent to a parliamentary special select committee to scrutinize and return to the National Assembly with recommendations within 2 months. And I ask that this amendment be put, sir.
I thank the honorable members.
Please?
Mr. Sherry, are you asking?
No, I was saying I'm seconding the honourable member's amendment.
Thank you. Honorable member, Mr. Edghill. The motion which was being debated here was the motion approved by the Speaker for debate here. I do not find the basis, your amendment being proposed is not an amendment, but in fact a disregard of the Speaker's interpretation of what should be debated here. The Speaker won't entertain the amendment. I should now put yes, honourable member.
Speaker, point of order. Mr. Speaker, it is not unusual in Parliament to bring an amendment in the midst of a debate. And so this has nothing to do with what you allowed or didn't allow before, sir. We are coming to the point where the motion has to be put, and we're moving amendment to the motion that's been circulated. And that is in order.
And the amendment seeks to reinstate what the Speaker disallowed when that motion was put. And remember, we have to do it right or not at all. The rules cannot be altered because they're inconvenient. The motion, the amendment proposed, honourable member, Mr. Edghill, will not be permitted by the Speaker.
I'd like to refer you to...
Honourable member, are you challenging the Speaker's ruling?
No, sir, but I'm bringing to your attention, sir, Standing Order 26. Sir, I'm bringing to your attention Standing Order 26, which I peruse because in my opening statement, sir, I did mention that I thought that the last be it resolved clause was accidentally omitted. You have indicated to this House this afternoon, sir, that it was not. After that, sir, I peruse Standing Order 26 that has to do with admissibility of motion, sir, and I don't see that that clause offended any of the items that were stated there. And I would like to refer further, sir, to a letter that was circulated.
Mr. Speaker. All right, let the Speaker put a question. Sir, I just rise to ask that the question be put.
Honourable member, thank you. Please proceed.
Sir, I was just basically seeking guidance because, sir, because if the substance of a motion, which is not a whereas clause, but it is what the motion was actually asking for, a be it resolved clause is removed, and I have checked, sir, on the Standing Order 26 to see if it offended any of these conditions. Sir, so if I'm wrong, I'll be happy to know where did it offend that it cannot be amended to include.
Honourable member, I will go through this. Very slowly. You presented a motion for the approval of the Speaker for inclusion for debate in this House. The Speaker, in exercise of the authority which resides in him, made amendments to that motion to enable it to be debated here. That motion was submitted and that motion was debated. You have sought by your amendment to reinstate that which the Speaker has disallowed on your original motion. How could that in any sense in this House be something that you feel you can do and insist on trying to do it. The Speaker has disallowed that before it was debated here. That is what we have to accept, Honourable Member. It may be uncomfortable, but that is what we should accept. I'll now put the question. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against, say no. No. The ayes have it.